Thank you. Thanks. Let me. Thank you. Thanks for having me, and nice to meet you all. And thanks for the introduction. Yeah, as you said, I'm going to talk about how I found this project and why I chose this specific media, and then I walk you through the my long journey talking a little bit about myself. So, as you said, I'm a filmmaker and immersive storyteller. I love blending these worlds together, especially through hybrid documentaries. My work is all about sharing the stories of women and families who don't always get heard. People who've been through really tough experience like forced displacement, forced marriage, and political sexual violence. Before I started this current work, I was really fascinated by the book of 1001 Nights or Arabian Nights. I don't know how many of you read this book. These are some of my photography before I started studying film at Emerson College. So, talking a little bit about the book, it's a collection of Middle Eastern folk tales, stories. The book is about a king so betrayed by his wife that he becomes a tyrant. And to revenge, he decided to marry a virgin and before sunrise, kill her to not give any time for cheating until no women left and all killed or escaped. Then the main character of this book, named Shahrazad, wise, brave, and bold enough to voluntarily marry the king. But instead of meeting the same fate like other women, she begins telling him stories each night, leaving them unfinished so he'll keep her alive just to hear more. For 2 years, Shahzada's stories didn't just save her, but also they changed the king completely. So he went from a ruthless dictator to someone who valued and respected women. So this story captivates me because it beautifully shows the power of storytelling, the impact of dialogue, and the incredible strength of women. Um, so I'm going to talk a little bit about now how I found this project, which is like it was a secret from my mom's family, and the secret is like young girls in age of 12 till 17 underage, including some from my mom's family, were forced into marriage with Zanzibar government officials in 1970. My family hide this from newer generation, including me. They hide even their family album. And when my cousin were moving to a new place, she found an old newspaper with her mom's picture on it. And then I started this investigation journey and I started searching about it. And I found these newspapers. So these are from British Library and then let me see if I can, okay, now better. And then I found an article written in New York Times. And when I was seeing these newspapers, it was very shocking for me because all these images, I grew up with them and I knew every single of these people, but I didn't know anything about their past. And then I started searching more, and from a YouTube channel, I found a book related to this incident. And in the book, it was a list of people who like were imprisoned, and every single of them, I knew them. They are like my grandfather, my aunts, my uncles, and then I found a letter which gave me a more information about this story. So this letter, I'm going to read it. My uncle wrote it to UN. Let me zoom more. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this letter wrote in 1972 to UN from my uncle. The victim of forced marriage in Zanzibar. I am submitting my plea to the United Nations once again in the matter of my fiancée, Miss Wajiha Yusuf, who's one of the victims of forced marriage, is still in captivity and under torture in Zanzibar. The Sayyid Wajiha Yusuf was betrothed to me of her own will and occurred and with the full consent and blessing of her parents on 20th February 1970. But on Sunday, 6 September 1970, in the morning, a group of armed soldiers from the Zanzibar army stormed into our homes and ordered us, the four girls and the members of family numbering 15 people, to accompany them on a special mission, promising us that no harm would come to any of us, nor was there any cause for fear. We were taken to the Afro-Shirazi party headquarters, where we suddenly realized that a pre-planned forced marriage ceremony was to conduct it. Neither the girls, of whom had been already betrothed to the fiancé of their own choice, nor any of their parents or relatives gave their consent. And we protested throughout the mock wedding. We were surrounded by armed soldiers threatening to kill all of us, but we continued to protest and resist and refuse to put our signatures on paper already prepared, purporting to show our consent to the marriage. So all of us were manhandled, beaten up, and nearly strangled to death by the armed soldiers and were then pushed onto an army vehicle, which took us to jail. There we were subjected to brutal physical and mental torture, and we were stripped naked. So that was like just one letter that showed me most of the story. Let me make it more. And and then it gave me um lots of motivation that, okay, now I know what happened. I need to talk to my mom and convince her to to share that story. But also I found another letter written by Wajiha Yusuf, which after I read that um, letter, which written for her parents, I realized that Wajiha, who was one of the girl in captivity, my uncle was deeply in love with her. So, I slowly found like more details by reading those letters. So I'm going to read this also. And let me, okay, here. To my dear parents, I hope all of you are in the best health. Today I am relating to you the persecution we have gone through. On Sunday, 6 September 70, we were sent to prison and were forced to hard labor. On the following Tuesday noontime, a man came and took all the four of us. We were put in separate rooms, and then came the so-called husband. I was shocked when I saw this man, and I could not utter a word from some time. After 5 minutes, I started screaming as he was telling to get prepared to go to his house. On the same day at night, I was forcibly thrown into a car, and my so-called husband was in the car waiting. I started screaming and crying, and at last I lost my conscience. When I opened my eyes, I found I was put in a house in countryside. I had lost all my strength, and I was extremely sick. Um, and then in this letter, it's very sad. In this letter, she wrote to her parents and kind of saying goodbye and said, I'm going to kill myself if that incident happened. But I continued researching. I found some images from old time in family albums. So this is the the first time the family went to another country. This is the time that they were, going to Dar es Salaam. And then after reading more and more, I realized that I should talk to my uncle. So after I talked to my mom, she shared a little bit of the story and she told me, if you want to learn more, you need to talk to your uncle because your uncle did a lot. And he, during all these years of captivity, he was writing letters to UN, to lawyers, to different embassies. And then by the help of another president, the president of Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, who supported the family and was against the first president law of forced marriage. So my uncle finally escaped with three girls and with his lover, Wajiha. And but when I started working on this project, it was hard because I couldn't meet my uncle. It was during the time that I was in US with single entry visa, and it was during the time that it was COVID. So I didn't know how to make art and how to make documentary. So I found 3D animation a good place to start. So I could share a little bit of this work and but in this 3D animation, I interviewed my uncle and he told me about the love to Wajiha and how he escaped with three girls. And then I started talking to Wajiha, and after I started talking to Wajiha, I learned more details of the story. But in this work, I realized that Amani Obeid Karume, who was the first president of Zanzibar after 1964 revolution, he was a friend of family. And but I found some similarities between this incident and the story of King in 1001 Nights. So after his presidency, but I need to also a little bit give you a little bit of the history background about the colonizer, about the Zanzibar, how the country went through after the revolution, but I don't have enough time, but I encourage you to read a little bit about it. But after his presidency, similar to the King of 1001 Nights, he revenged to women. He married, he took 10 wives and then proposed my aunt from my grandfather. But the president was in 70 years old and my aunt was underage and she didn't agree to marry. But then after he hear no, he had a speech. Later on, I found the speech also, and then he deported all family and gave them 72 hours to leave, took all their citizenships, took all their properties, and deported them all, but only men of the family, not the girls. The girls should stay in the country. But when the family didn't accept it, they came to the house by gun and army, took the girls by force, and made them in captivity for many years. So you read some of that story in the letter. But going back to as an artist, how can I show that? How can I talk about that incident while I am in US? That story happened 50 years ago in Tanzania, and now I have single entry visa. This is during COVID. How can I make it? And this animation didn't satisfy me because the house is not the same house in Africa. This is not my mom's house. And then I thought, what if I start like a documentary photography? So I built a set in sound stage. I did some research and then I tried to make a location in a studio similar to Zanzibar. And then I did photography, and my goal was, just replace my own pictures in 3D animation, which I'm going to show you later. And so this is the set. I built the set in soundstage. One scene was like president office, one scene was jail, and one scene was like, forced marriage story. And just try to like tell the story in a more realistic way. And this is how I replaced this animation made in Unity, but it's still, I was not happy. It's like I need more real location, and what can I do? And then I found photogrammetry. I'm sure you're familiar with photogrammetry, but this is the technique that you could, take multiple pictures of an object and then it make 3D. It's like modeling 3D object, but by taking images. So I come up with the idea of what if I ask someone back to Tanzania, to Zanzibar, to take pictures of a location, and then it gave me a 3D aspect, and I could bring it to 3D animation world instead of like using asset or some other model that is not related to the story. So um, I asked one of my friends to wear Zanzibari look dress. So this is Kanga. And then I asked another friend back to Zanzibar to give me more footages and information about how their school looked like, because after the law of forced marriage, all the ministers of the country allowed to go to a school and took any girls that they wanted. So this is the school that my friend took pictures, and then this is how in photogrammetry look like, which is it give you a fully 3D aspect. But something was missing, because then, okay, I have a static object. I wanted more live. So I found photogrammetry is a good kind of media for location, but how can I tell a story related to 50 years ago as reenactment? So if I could get actors, for example, in US to tell the story, I could put them in a photogrammetry scene. So, and then I found that Azure Kinect sensors, which is from Microsoft, and that's volumetric capture. So the volumetric is like capturing 3D object, but it's like a rig. It's like you model it, but you animate it. It's like live action, but it's complicated because you need at least 5 of these Azure. So I am share like how it look like. This, wait, let me do it again. So that's like fully. And then in this video, it shows better. Okay, so for example, here you capture the actors in green screen, and then boom, they are in a real location. So I was thinking to do the same, like have actors, and then the audience could see experience in the VR. So similar to this, and then the location is in photogrammetry. Okay, make it smaller, and then these are some of the work. I could see that I am running out of time. Please let me know when I should finish
You're
it.
fine. You're fine. You're fine, Asma. Please.
Okay, so and then I started learning more about this software, And I found, after I talked to Wajiha, I realized a very interesting story from her. While she was in captivity, her so-called husband was a minister of education, and he already has wife and children. And his wife and his family helped her. The women in the family helped her to be connected with his lover, who's my uncle, and then that provide a smoother situation for her to escape. And then by doing that, I had exhibition in 2022 talking about um, like kind of prototype of this media, and a little bit focusing on generational trauma and repetition of the same elements to emphasize the enduring impact of this issue across generations. And then it's like the video has a loop in a background that a mom or a character prepare. Let me show it to you. So prepare a bride, a child bride for a marriage. And then, but the child keep, ruining the veil. And that's like a 5 minute loop of preparation, and the bride and the child don't want it. But when I was shared that to my mom, she said, "You silly, because no one wear bride dress. Are you crazy?" And I realized, oh my, I should research more. So I shouldn't just imagine and films. So, and at that time, I kept kind of sharing my work to my mom to make sure that I understood the story um, like completely. Okay, I go to the next slide. And in 2023, I realized that, okay, I cannot work on this project if I stay in US. I need to see them. So in 2022, COVID situation got better, as you know, and then, as you don't know, I got my green card, which made me, provide me a situation to go back home. So I went to Iran, and then my uncle gave all the documents that he was keeping all these years. So, and then based on all that documents, I made another work that was kind of more accurate to the story. And but I was doing the same. So I wanted to have like kind of a video art, and I include the story of Wajiha was being friend with the minister's daughter, with the so-called husband's daughter. And that reminds me the character of Shahrazad. So Wajiha, for me, her story was similar to what Shahrazad did, to make a dialogue, to share your story, to make connection. And in this case, she could keep herself alive here by not, what I mean by alive. And then also it provide a friendship. And I also did some kind of, 3D um, capture for doing that in the VR. And then in 2024, actually this year, I had installation that audience could sit on a boat, and then they could experience the video art, and while putting a VR headset, they could see how they escaped. So the video art is from the point of view of Wajiha, and the escape scene is mainly from my uncle and how he escaped. So from, let's say, 2020 till 2024, slowly I gained more kind of information, and then I realized, okay, now I need to make a documentary because, yeah, even if I go to Iran, even if I got all these, you know, letters and documents, but it's still something missing. I need to go to Africa. I need to go to Tanzania, to Zanzibar, and capture the location of their escape um, myself. So, and then I come up with a log line. I come up with the synopsis. What is the story? So, the name of the story is Act Number 6, 1001 Nights in Zanzibar. It's about my journey toward discovering a shocking secret about my family's survival after forced child marriage after the Zanzibar Revolution in early 70. And through series of conversation and reenactment with my uncle back to the scene of crime, I unravel a love story of, of my uncle who escaped with his lover. So I wanted to kind of focus only of my uncle's story. And then, so, I wrote synopsis, I wrote my, who's the main character, what is the narration style. So I loved the volumetric style because it's like a memories that they tried so hard to forget, and it's not accurate. So some part of the memory gone. It's like a dream, it's like a memory which I try to, make it alive again. So, and then for the location, I use this tool that I know you're familiar. It's LiDAR or Leica, which is 3D laser. So I realized that taking photogrammetry of like a street or house, it's very challenging. It takes time and it's not accurate enough. But 3D laser with LiDAR, it gave me a huge amount of data, and then I could manipulate later. And then for the sound, I use this device, which give you a 360 kind of aspect of, 3D audio. And last summer, I traveled to Zanzibar. So I went from Boston to Dubai, and then, oh wait, how can I need to share a slide. I want to show you this better. Okay. So last summer, I talked to my uncle and I talked to my mom and I said, we need to go to Africa. And I convinced them that um, they were so afraid because they escaped. They thought they will be in trouble. But with the help of university, I provide some letters, and then I convinced them that, nothing gonna happen. This is 50 years ago. No one cares. Come on, I pay your ticket. I pay your stay. It's all on me. And then magically they accepted. So my uncle, Wajiha, my mom, myself, and a sister of two girls that escaped with him. Last summer, we all went to Africa, and they went after 50 years. And so I went from Boston to Dubai, and then from Dubai to Oman, Muscat. And then from Muscat, we went to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And from Dar es Salaam, I was recording exactly the journey of how they escaped, how my uncle escaped. So he escaped from Zanzibar with the boat to Dar es Salaam. And then from Dar es Salaam, we took the car and we went to Tonga, which was like around, I think, 8 hours, 10 hours. And then they escaped from Tonga through a forest for 4 hours. But at that time, we couldn't find the forest because, after 50 years, they built houses there. And then they went from forest back to the story. They, with the help of a tribe, African tribe named Digo, they passed the border to Mombasa. And then they went to Nairobi. And in the Nairobi, they, they went to the embassy to seek help. So first they went to the embassy of India. The ambassador was not there. And then my uncle's friend said he knows a little bit of Farsi language and let's try Iranian embassy. So they went to Iranian embassy and then they flew in Iran after 3 days of escape. And that was during the time that the president assassinated. So anyway, this is some of the footage of me doing volumetric in Africa. Max was my producer. Victor was my sound recorder. And that's the minister's daughter. So Wajiha's minister daughter, I found her. And that was fascinating story because when I see her, Wajiha also surprised her, which I recorded in documentary. But what was very interesting for me, after Wajiha escaped, Fatma, this woman's sister, got a child and they named Wajiha. And for, the memory of Wajiha. And that reminds me how beautiful human, when they connect, when they make dialogue, peace is coming. And yeah, and then, I did the same thing. I did like making the photogrammetry for some of the story. And with the a LiDAR, with the team, we went to Africa and record like the street, my mom's house, some of the reenactment. And these are some of it. I'm going to share if we have time, like the experience. Do we have time? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Okay, perfect. And then I found more pictures. So after all these efforts, family trusted me. They shared all old albums, family albums, because after the escape, Taki, my uncle, and Wajiha, they got married. They had a happy, ending life. And then happy ending story. And then these are some of the documentary footages. Right now, I am still in a process of documentary, in a process of editing, and I think the feature-length documentary I couldn't finish it that early. Maybe it takes another year. But during these are some of the footages. This is the street. So here my uncle shows me how he found the boat. And I just go fast. So here we took the boat, similar to that year's, he was he was on a boat, and then three of us pretend that we are those three girls. And then you left and here on our way back to Tonga, Wajiha is talking about what happened to the forest. See anything. And I found some more pictures. Anyway, I am going to share the VR experience that's supposed to be VR experience, but this is only a share screen of a video, which is here. Okay, let me stop a screening and do not the portion. I want to share all the screen. Okay, got it. Share. So that's the video art. Oh, wait, I want to make sure you have sound. Yeah, sound shared. Okay. Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Wajiha. I was born in Zanzibar.
Can you hear the sound?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Back of this, we can see the soldiers are there with their machine guns. They're just keeping for us. They come in front of us. That not to talk anything, and we didn't care anything. We just scream. We don't want to get married with these men. We don't want anybody. We don't want to get married with these men. And they didn't care. They just push us. Go. They push us. They took us in the prison. Told me, Wajiha, you come in this room. I didn't know, I thought maybe I'm going to be released today. At that time, I saw that many has entered the room. Like this, I was scared. I was so scared. He was chasing me. Come, I've got a room, I've got a big house and everything. I told him, I don't want to get married with you. I'm 15 years old. And you are maybe more than 50s. And he was like he's my father. He has family. He has got a big family. He has got wife and has so many children they've got.
And then here I tell the story of the connection to the Fatma. And these are letters from 1001 Nights.
Past nearly 2 years. Till 1.5 years passed, nearly 2 years. He told me, no, you are not going anywhere. No, you'll stay here up to you'll be old. Telling me every time, you have to always tell me. So when are you going to bring a baby? When are you going to bring baby beautiful like you? I won't leave me alone. I want to go back to my friends. As his wife was jealous to me, so one day I was fighting with him, I was pulling his hair, and also he beat me so much at that day. I got sore here, all my eyes, he was beating me so hard on my head here, in my ear. I was just, I was not feeling well. So that day, his wife and all children, they come to visit me. At that day, the first time that his wife, she realized that I'm not in love with his husband.
So I couldn't show all the experience because of time, but this is how much time I have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, so this is 8-minute experience, which is supposed to watch in VR, and yeah, I play this. Maybe we could watch all of it.
My name is Taqi. I was born and grew up in Zanzibar, Tanzania. My father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather, and even more, were all born in Zanzibar. All our ancestors. In 1964, the Zanzibar Revolution overthrew the Sultan rule. The man who became the president of Zanzibar has been friends with my family for a long time. In 1970, he proposed marriage to my sister. However, in our family, We don't marry outside the Said clan. He was in his 60s and had at least 3 wives. When the president sent a message with his proposal, my mother lost her cool and swore at him and even insulted the president. Then the president decided that was by ordering marriage between government officials and women from different ethnicities living in Zanzibar. They chose several women even though some of them were underage or already engaged. Wajia was the most beautiful girl Holden even seen. We were young, but we knew that we loved each other very much.
Laiti ningelikuwa wananchi wa Tanzania, ni raia wa Tanzania, singeweza kupinga mambo haya. Wanafikiri yale yale yao. Sasa nataka mjue vipi wamekuja hapa Unguja. Very nice. Sasa nakwambieni watu hawa wametokana vipi. Watu hawa Waislamu, hawa wamepata uhamisho na wataondoka 31 wote kwa umoja.
After the president's speech, a group of armed soldiers from the Zanzibar army stormed our house and ordered us, the 4 girls and the members of the family, numbering 15 people, to accompany them on a special mission. They promised that no harm would come to any of us, nor was there any cause for fear. We knew that was all. We suddenly realized that the pre-planned forced marriages ceremony was to be conducted. Neither the girls nor any of their parents or relatives gave their consent. We protested throughout the mock wedding. We kept protesting while the soldiers threatened to kill all of us. They gave us marriage contracts, but we refused to sign our consent. They separated the men and women, handcuffed and blindfolded, all of us, and dragged us away to the prison. Then next day, on 7th of September, the court sentenced all of us to 1 year imprisonment, hard labor, and 24 lashes.
The next day, I was called also. They knocked the door. They said, Wajiha, you come outside. So I thought maybe I'm going to be released to go out of the jail. As I was going out from that room, that guide woman was telling me, why you are losing your chance to get married with this man. All the people there wanted chance to get married with him. He is a minister. I don't care. I don't love him. I don't care anything whatever he has. As I was going outside, I saw the car is waiting for me. And that lady, housemaid, was in the car. And that man, he was in the car also. I was trying to run away. I didn't want to go. They pushed me inside the car. Then while I was in the car, all the door, the lock. I was screaming, help, 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 I don't want this man, help. The people that can hear them, at least. Even he was crying, and I was trying to pump him, pulling his hair, pulling everywhere, his neck, everywhere, whatever I can do, I was doing.
Simama. Wewe mweke mtu kwa gari. Simama. Hapana. Unajifanya nini hapa? Wewe twende.
I was looking for the ways to get these children released from the captivity. So I was driving from north to south on the coastal area. If one day I get chance, I want to run away with them.
Then we put in the car, we went to there's like a forest. We went there, two women and two men. So I was there, and they are putting food on the way to go. And the forest, really, it was so much dark. Then 2 o'clock they come and call us. We are three of us. 3 of us, we started to go walking without barefoot, no shoes, no nothing. Just going slowly, slowly, slowly. I can see that the dogs were barking to me. Wow, 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 wow. My God, I was telling you, I can hear near my foot. So no, they don't do any. They won't do anything. Be calm. Go on. They are telling me. You know, so every sound we can hear. Every sound at that time, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You just imagine we were going walking. 2 o'clock, 2 midnight, 2, 3, 4. Nearly 5, then we reach like in the border of Mombasa.
Yeah, and but right now I am working on volumetric material, so then I could add people. Like for example, I need to export it and then include it inside a LiDAR space, then it looked like more realistic. So I just wanted to show you the volumetric and how it looked like completely 3D. And yeah, I think that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asma. So I see that we have our virtual friends on. So there is Carol, Domenico, Daria. Daria, how are you? Is all good?
Hey, I'm fine. Thank you so much. I just got COVID, but I'm
Yes, I
feeling better.
know.
Yeah.
Then
Thanks for asking.
yes.
Yeah, no, well, I just wanted to say thank you, Asma, for sharing this beautiful, you know, art piece. And I mean, Asma is my best friend, so we know each other for more than a decade. So she's very talented and very creative. And I just wanted to share my experience. So she's working on her thesis, and I've never had a chance to see in person her work, but I was in a residency. I mean, she was in a residency program in Savannah, and I was there to help her with her installation. And I was lucky to experience this immersive, documentary VR film. She's been working so hard on it, and I had that experience. I just wanted to share with you that it was like very, very, very immersive, like very, like she said, like it was like a live memory. You were engaged totally with, the story, feel empathy, and totally immersed with all your senses. And I wish you would have a chance to experience it if Asma would be able to be there, and then you would have that experience, the using the headset, the VR headphone. It was amazing. Like, I just wanted to say thank you for all your efforts, like being very creative, like bringing a new thing to the art, with the new media, and thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks.
So I see there is also Annalisa. Then Aris is here in the classroom. Who else is online? Is there other people online?
No, that's it.
Okay. Carol, yes, please.
I just want to thank Asma for this wonderful piece. It's really very compelling, even just on the screen, And it's such a compelling story. It could be a great film documentary. It could be a great book. And so I really admire the way you're turning it into an art piece as well. I mean, that's so layered and complicated. So what's your decision making about that? I mean, because you could have gone in so many directions. Or is this because of the structure of your thesis that you have certain conventions to follow?
Yeah, thanks. And actually, yeah, as I shared, I was a little bit doubt that how to show that work while I didn't have enough, opportunity to be there. And then, but I thought the VR experience suit well with the experience of these women who, you know, it's like they still, most of them, they still cannot talk about that trauma, or they could not publicly talk about it because it's such a taboo in Islamic community talking about forced marriage, let's say rape. And so that's why the VR experience, I thought it's like one by one individual experience that they could share their secret instead of sitting in a cinema and publicly screen it. So that's why I like the this media. But after my travel to Tanzania and Kenya, I found more women, and two of them came to me and asked me to make their story. So, which gave me lots of motivation, which gave me kind of, okay, I am working on this project maybe for the next 10 years, but I have the idea of, it's not enough to share all of that complicated with multiple characters story in only 10 minutes VR experience. So that's why the feature length documentary was another idea. Then I could talk about, the history, the colonizer place, because I don't want to be also too much biased. I want to also, when I was in Africa, I get a chance to meet the president's wife. So I was connected to both sides of the story. And now I found more victims, more women in captivity that if I get I don't know, like a better support or grant or something, I think this work has potential to be even a series of documentary.
I agree. There's enormous numbers of victims, really, of violence against women, and it's great that they've survived to tell their stories. And I appreciate that you're telling their stories for them. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Aris?
Thank you, Asma. That was really.
Can you speak louder?
I'll try. So thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation, and your work is really interesting. I understand why it resonates with you. Of course, it's your family and stuff. A lot of other things were happening in Zanzibar at that time. And so in the interest of balance, do you also present some of that stuff, or you're thinking to include some of the things that were happening in the slave trade. You see, the Islamists in Zanzibar were, you know, they suffered a lot in '64 because of it. There were actually a lot of people were killed. Indians and Arabs were killed. But at the same time, you know, the Sultanate that was there since many, many centuries was in the slave trade, and what they did to the sub-Saharan African people, and Zanzibar was at the center of it, was horrible. It's similar, if not worse, to what your family endured. So I wonder if you're thinking, if you're thinking for a historical documentary, do you think you should also talk about those other things that were happening? Because, you know, there's documentation, there's evidence, there's stuff about what the Omanis did to the African women. So there's a lot of bad things that will happen during that time, and wondering if you said you went to Tanzania and you probably learned about all that stuff. Are you planning to sort of include some of that too?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you know, during that time, I think that happens everywhere. Like in '64, that happened in every single countries, right? And Tanzania and Zanzibar was not only one of that. So when we talk about slavery, I think even not only Omani, even like other countries like British, German, Portuguese, like all of them has, you know, a little bit of footstep in Zanzibar and Tanzania about that. And I'll definitely going to include that because, you know, I realized that's very important. The audience should know why the first president of Zanzibar did that, because the country was under Omani's sultan for more than 40 years. And it's very ironic that the capital of Zanzibar, during that time, Zanzibar was a country. It was Zanzibar and Tanganyika. Oman, Muscat, was the capital of this country, which was like, what, how? And that's like, I'll definitely include that. And I couldn't also, you know, hide or manipulate the history. And because, okay, even my family was colonizer, right? They are not local. But talking about all of these facts and history, again, it come to the point of this is not fair when you as a king, as a president, as someone in power to revenge the body of women. And that is still happening. That is still happening in the war, in the revolution, in every single country,
And
even now.
I agree with you. And that's my next point about the still happening part. Do you think that to a certain extent in Tanzania, if you traveled in rural Tanzania, have you seen that this practice of children rights, so, you know, is going on, but in a different form? It doesn't have to be, unfortunately, it doesn't happen this way in terms of colonizers versus others. It can happen in an economic ground. And have you seen any evidence of that going on with young children, very young girls getting married for a piece of bread, essentially?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is a lot of different variety of forced marriage or arranged marriage, which requires tons of research, you know. But you know, I was thinking a lot how to tell this project because, you know, it could be an essay documentary, but I thought maybe for now, I am only focused on my own story. I want to introduce these women in the community that I know. And after that, maybe I could make the project expanded or in a bigger size. But they are like in an old age. For more than 30 years of my life, I didn't know anything about them. And right now, I have the chance to understand. And that helps me to understand myself as well. So that's why this project is a little bit more like a personal experience than an essay documentary, which I love to have that. I was thinking, oh, wow, maybe I should write a book. But, I'm not a researcher, but I am very open for collaboration. And I have in plan that to write a book because I have more than 5,000 letters and documents that could be used as a book.
The last question.
Yeah, hi, I'm Umar. I highly appreciate the work that you are doing, and thank you very much for the stories that you are telling us in a very artistic way. I'm basically from the area like Afghanistan and the area that is like north of Afghanistan, which is like Pashtun areas. So I kind of have heard the similar stories. So what I wanted from you is if you can kindly share your work so that I know more about it, and maybe I could do some research, and if you are open for collaboration, I could like women are experiencing this kind of oppression and abuse and different kind of like bad things that happen to them they are experiencing. So maybe we can research on that and resurface some of the stories from that part of the world. Like, horrible things are happening currently in Afghanistan under the Taliban regimes. So yeah, that would be the one thing. If you can kindly share your work with us, I would highly appreciate that. The second thing that I wanted to ask is that, these kind of things happen in our part of the world. I mean, we we have to talk about how these kind of horrible actions are motivated by the ideology, be that the cultural ideology or the religious ideology. So how can we tell in a more accurate way the motivations behind of these kind of things? Like, the president gave the speech and deported the whole family. Why people didn't say anything or resisted the president that you are doing it wrong. So there was this deep indoctrination or deep propaganda happened that was inspired maybe by the religion or by the culture. So I would say like how, if we kind of like tell stories from that perspective, that would be like helpful to understand the historical and cultural and ideological background. So maybe I'm asking like, are you focusing on that part as well?
Only in the feature-length documentary, because I believe, Zanzibar has very, very complicated history. But I think the main focus should goes with colonizers, because that's give lots of understanding of why first president decided to make the force of law, the law of forced marriage. Maybe that was a, logical result at that time, because he wanted to break the hierarchy. The hierarchy during that time was based on your ethnicities, not your color, your ethnicities. Like if you are Omani and you are Zanzibari, like local, if you say you are Omani, but you both Black people, but the Omani one, or let's say Afro-Shirazi one, if you are Omani, you get more rice during that time. So it's all about hierarchies. And that was one of the way to bring, equality by the marriage, you know. And I think that requires lots of research that I don't know enough. And that's why I am very open for collaboration with researchers when I start focusing on documentary, because the history is beyond, my knowledge. I am not good at it.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I have another class. Asma, thank you very much. And so let's stay in contact. I'm gonna get the email.
Thank you.
What is your name?
Omar.
Omar, and then I'll put in contact with him, and I'll thank you very much. And there is gonna be the